Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. Today's episode, do you know what? This is probably an episode which I'm very, very thankful that I'm actually hosting, because I don't think it's going to happen very often. And it hasn't happened for a very, very, very long time. But we are here today to review the recent game at Stamford Bridge of Chelsea versus Fulham. Usually, that's really hard to say, but not today, and we'll get into that in good time. But today, we have an absolute stacked lineup for you. The stars are out. And speaking of stars, I'm going to go straight to Sam, the star of the Barents family. How are we doing, Sam?
Stop it. I mean, the only star in my eyes is you, Skibby. No, I'm doing fantastic. It's the absolute best way to start your morning. I kind of don't really know what to say. I'm overwhelmed by the fact that I have rocked up so last minute, and also there's so many people here today. This is yeah. But as I always said, there always must be a Berenzi on the podcast, and today is no exception. It would have been blasphemous. Jack's drunk right now. That's why he's not here. Just bus under, brother. Anyway, but I don't care. I'm too excited. This is just the best. Other people. Absolutely. Hey.
We have other people, as Sam mentioned. So we've got Nick joining us on the podcast today. How are we doing, Nick?
Doing well, still absolutely buzzing after yesterday. I managed to go down to the Riverside stand actually in person and watch sort of on the screens because Fulham had opened it up and the atmosphere was just electric. Of course,
that's so good.
First win there.
You know what? We'll touch on that a bit later on, I think, because that's an interesting concept of how to watch the game, and it's a kind of a new one. So I'm glad you brought that up actually, because I forgot you did that. But that's fantastic. And we have Mary. Mary is back. I mean, this has got to be was it hat trick?
Yeah, I reckon it's the only time I'm getting a hat trick, but I'm here for it.
I feel like we need to sort out something nice here.
I don't think I've ever watched a video of someone scoring a goal as many times as this. And seeing Fulham trending on Twitter is another level. I think it's still trending at the moment. So, yeah, I'm here for it, and I'm looking forward to chatting all positive things.
Smashing. And last but by all means not least, we are joined by Mark. How are we doing, Mark? Might need to unmute yourself, bud.
Oh, Mark.
There we go. Absolutely amazing, Skibby. So got to go on unmute first. But yeah, really enjoying doing these post-derby sort of match reviews. I've gotten pretty lucky with Brentford and now Chelsea. So maybe just keep the train rolling with the London derbies and see how we go. But yeah, buzzing, happy, chuffed to be here and want to go over it in excruciating detail.
Absolutely. I'm sure that we all do. And, we're all chomping at the bit. We're all salivating at, the content that we have for you guys. But firstly, we do have a Discord. I'm sure you're all listening. You all know we have a Discord. We know you have a community that we've built up all by ourselves, which is talking all things Fulham. And to be honest, it's very, very calm in a way that it's just not as toxic as, say, Twitter and the Facebook group. Don't get me started on the Facebook group. But anyway, we've got a nice little community. Join the discussions. You can do actually some interesting things if you can't make a game. Make of that what you will. But if you can't make a game, join the Discord. You won't regret it. But no, I mean, Steve Reynolds has just made a very, very good point. Have we not lost every time we've had Mary on? Is that right? I guess that is right.
Come on, you right.
Mary fucking Southgate.
And a 12th player.
It's yeah, exactly. So if we've got a game on, it's like, oh, Mary's like, I'm busy today. I can't come on. Just write it off. Put it in your acca as Fulham loss.
When I'm teaching again, I'm going to have to pause all lessons to get on here at 12.
That's it, yeah.
I mean, that's commitment. That's commitment to the cause that we love to see.
To the cause, to Fulham, to everything.
Eddie's from Texas here. This is great. We're international now.
International. I mean, we're international anyway. You're in Australia.
Shut up.
Right. Without further ado, let's put up the fantastic slide of Chelsea 1, Fulham 2.
Oh,
Let's all just let that.
Unbelievable.
Let's just bask in that a little bit.
Oh,
Chelsea
she's so
won.
fit.
Fulham 2.
Beautiful.
If this was an
beautiful
OnlyFans, I would subscribe instantly.
You'd be getting a lot
man.
of money.
Absolutely, it would be just throwing money at it. I mean, let's get straight into it. You know, Fulham at the Bridge on Boxing Day, which even the day itself is a bit of an omen to us. I mean, Mary, I'm going to come to you straight away. You weren't expecting this, right? You weren't expecting a win. Don't try and lie.
It's on Twitter. I thought 2-1 Chelsea. I would like to formally apologise to everyone for doubting the Whites. I think it was sensible, but I did initially think 1-1, and then with the lack of, we had quite a few injuries. We weren't sure where we were at. I did go 2-1. However, I formally apologise for that. And what better Boxing Day? Like, come on, I don't know if we thought that was quite going to happen, but especially after 45 years, how much better can it get?
Ridiculous.
It really.
I mean, like at this point, like what's the point in really even being articulate? If you're really going for I mean, we can do in-depth analysis, but I just want to just bask in the joy here because, like, I mean, we can break this down, but I'm just in an elation kind of mode. I'm just happy. Also, I was really drunk on New Year's, not on New Year's, on Christmas, and I actually did a review. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, and I said 2-0. So I got 2 goals. I got 2 goals. I got the 2 goals that I was expecting. But to be honest, that was just pure manifestation. So Mary needs to come on the pod, and I need to drink more, apparently. So
absolutely. No, that's fantastic. So I guess at the beginning we saw the team lineups come out, and I mean, Mark, I'm going to come to you, man. Like, we saw 5 at the back. I mean, I guess we saw that there was 3 centre backs, including Anderson, with Sasha Lukic, luckily, you know, passing the fitness test and coming in sort of to protect that back line. But how did you feel, you know, probably an untested 5 at the back system, which Fulham haven't played much I don't think ever in this, under Marco, unless I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But how did you feel that? Did you feel that was too negative, or did you feel like it was the right thing to do?
I think it kind of made sense given who we had on the lineup. So Anderson came back, obviously, and I think it was quite clever that we see Anderson drift forward a little bit and sort of kind of play a CDM outlet role. And remember, the assistant manager who we brought in, the name escapes me at the moment, but he was used to a 5 at the pack. So I think perhaps this was always the plan. We've always been a bit more defensive when we're playing those top sides like Man City, Liverpool. We've gone with a double pivot before, but given the personnel we had available at the time, it kind of made sense to slip in all 3 center backs. And I was thinking Diop wouldn't be replaced when I did my lineup as well, because he's, you know, we know he has the odd mistake in him, but he's been pretty solid for us this season. So yeah, it was an interesting tweak, but it's one that really worked out for us, and I'm glad it did.
Yeah, and I guess a similar thing to you, Nick. Were you quite surprised to see that kind of move, or were you? I think you even said to us that you expected a 5 at the back.
Yeah, so in my prediction, I want to say I predicted 2-1. It was purely wishful thinking, but correct prediction as well. But I predicted a 5 at the back. I just think we saw against some of the bigger teams, and also when we were ahead more earlier on in the season, we dropped into a bit of a makeshift 5 at the back at times during a game. And I thought, with Chelsea as good as they are right now, with us only having sort of Lukic at defensive mid, we would want something a bit more solid defensively. So, I mean, I think it worked out this time. And I just want to give props to Castagna, the way he got forward during that game and stepped up into that role. I mean, not any teams, I think, in the Prem can say you lose your top right back and can replace him with another top world-class right back as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in my kind of thoughts coming into the game and seeing the lineup, I think I saw that Castagna on the right back or the right wing back slot actually didn't seem a good move to me. I thought that Castagna is definitely more of that conserved 4 at the back, right back, not your kind of Anthony Robinson bombing forward, getting in and trying to cause trouble. But he proved me wrong. I was expecting maybe Iwobi would have been better in that situation, or even Adama, just to sort of try and combat, those wingers that Chelsea have. I believe it was Pedro Neto and number 19, who I'm going to forget his name.
Sancho.
Sancho, that's right. And they're not going to track back. So I was just thinking, with if you bomb Adama down that right, they're not going to track him back. But I think Castagna was fantastic, like you say. And yeah, I think they got it right. They got it all right. So going into the game then, first half, we started off pretty brightly, I guess, Sam. Like, did you think that we were actually sort of taking the game to Chelsea and a bit more dominant than we thought we might be?
I thought it was actually, I was really interested because, I mean, you see 5 at the back and you just assume that we're just going to play really, really defensively. So to my absolute delight to see us come out with so much tenacity and basically look to bollock them as quickly as possible and come out of the gates really, really strong, just really prepared for a fight, was awesome in that first 10 minutes. Kind of took me back. I was just kind of like, I have no idea what this game is going to be now, because I mean, it's always hard because you want the boys to care as much about beating Chelsea as we do. But I can't really forgive guys who have just basically come into the squad within the past couple of years. I think Silva's done an amazing job at just hyping up how important this game is and how important this win actually is. So just to see like the fighting spirit was just so awesome. I mean, like Traore and Castagna as well were really, really getting amongst it, literally within like the first 2 minutes or something. I mean, we conceded relatively early, around about like 15-minute mark. I mean, that's a good goal by Cole Palmer, but I think that is also a little bit of a slip. But I don't know. It didn't feel like that was going to be the end. It felt like this was a fight, and yeah, it was just. I mean, it's like a Mighty Ducks narrative that just makes me happy. Anytime we get that, I've recently watched Remember the Titans as well. So it's like you don't necessarily have to like be the strongest team straight away. You're just part of the whole journey. And I love games like this. I was having this conversation with Dad the other day, actually, because I can't remember if it was you, but we were talking about the way that like Kish sees the game. And Kish sees the game in a very, very analytical way that I don't see the game in that way. I just get sucked in to like the pageantry of it all. And this game was just pure pageantry from start to finish. And I loved it. Yeah. Sorry, other people can say things now.
No, and just for the record, Kish is Cottage Tactico on Blue Sky and Twitter. So be sure to follow him. His analysis is fantastic. So big up Kish. But no, I mean, you're quite right. And I mean, we started off strongly. Cole Palmer, being Cole Palmer, gets a bit of a break. And it's a bit of a gut punch, let's be honest. And I think, Mary, are we taking too much away from Cole Palmer when we say it was a bit too easy? I think that he just sort of waltzed through the defence and slots it in the bottom corner. Could Fulham have done better in that situation?
I think I watched it back again this morning. You can see Pereira think about going in for a tackle, then he held off. I think it's probably sensible he didn't foul him there, but obviously it's led to a goal anyway. But I think in Pereira's defence, he didn't want to give a foul away there, but it was a bit too easy for him. He just went through. No one really committed themselves to it. But I mean, for our matches, sometimes we get told, don't give a foul away on the edge of the box. So could that be going through their heads as well? But I think someone should have pressed him a bit better. I think it was a little bit weak. Fair play to him. He had good feet on the ball and a good finish. But yeah, I think we probably could have tried to get a foot in somehow.
Yeah. If I'm right, it was Pereira that was sort of behind him, and then he skipped past Anderson, I think, and then used Diop as a bit of a block. And I mean, I'm not a goalkeeper. I was actually rubbish in goal, but I can imagine as a goalkeeper having Diop standing in your way as someone's bending it round an absolute unit like Diop, that makes it 10 times harder. So I can't really blame Leno in that situation. But
and I think Leno was outstanding, wasn't he? All game.
Yeah, I was just about to say, incredible.
Man of the
Saved
match for me, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Some of the saves, that Kukurea header that came in off that free kick, just to get down there, and was just superb. And he saved the game for us on multiple occasions. That defense, I think he's man of the match for me. Bassi also played amazingly, and that shot on goal was magic to see a centre back go through and take a shot and try that.
Just Bassi channeling like prime Rudiger and just literally just bombing up the pitch and just
he did not stop.
It was amazing. It was utterly amazing, and that's all I ever want for Bassi. If anything, maybe like the 5 at the back allowed him to literally just be like, yeah, and just so Silva was like, if you want to go, bro, just go, and just to see it, and like because he looked good, man. He looked actually so strong, and you just forget how fast he actually is. And it was a decent strike. It was a very, very decent strike. I would have lost my shit if he would have got that in.
That probably would have been goal of the season, right? Like I think
amazing.
It was one, it was an amazing run, and two, other than the skill and the pace that we saw, just I think it completely took them off guard, because whenever we go up, we always lay it off to the side, right? And we try and get a cross in. So it seemed like every time he came up against someone that was, had to make a decision whether to take him on, whether to block a pass, they would choose to block a pass. And he just keep on going. And yeah, incredible moment.
Yeah, and I think there was probably an element of, Robinson being, I think he's like 3rd or 4th on the list for assists at the moment. So, I mean, Maresca must have pointed him out and said, we need to stop him getting forward. And now they're playing 5 at the back. He's going to have all this running to do, more attacking than defending. So I think there was an element where Robinson, at that point, took people out of the game and opened up for Bassi. And he just went, you know what, I'm running. And Sam's quite right. You forget, actually, he is a really, really good athlete. He's built like a rugby league player, kind of. He's got speed, he's got strength, and he just goes. And when he's in full swing, I don't think... It would be really hard to stop him, I think, because even if you lean on him, you just bounce off him because he's just in that zone. But no, I think that was a fantastic moment for Bassi, and we would have all loved that to sort of go in the back of the net. I guess, Mark, a question to you, mate, that going 1-0 down away to your sort of closest rivals, I mean, heads can drop, especially to a team that are probably sitting second in the league, looking to really challenge for that title. So I think heads could drop by. So I guess what I'm asking is, how good of a mentality has Marco sort of implemented in this team, not only to be more resilient and sort of play back and try and get back into the game, but also you could actually see that in the sort of the way that Castagna, Iwobi, Bassi, that a lot of them were playing, that this actually is a derby game, and it means a lot to the fans, and it really meant a lot to the players, I think you could see.
Yeah, I think he highlighted that, right? He said at the end in the post-match that it was for the fans. He really drilled it into the team that, it's a big match, especially away. Stamford Bridge, long time since we won there. What I find interesting is we so often find ourselves in the reverse of this, right? And this is very worrying for us as Fulham fans. So we're usually the guys that are 1-0 up early and thinking, oh no, like 1 is not good enough. We want 2 or 3. And it's happened, right? It's happened at Everton. It's happened at West Ham. And it's so good, just like Brentford, to be on the other side of it. I wouldn't say Chelsea, I think they were a little bit better in the first half. I think we really came back into the second half. But when you're 1-0 down, that doesn't really mean all that much. And in fact, it makes you a little bit nervous, better than losing, obviously. But you're just trying to hold on to that lead. And, there's always hope in the last 10 minutes, right? Even at the very end of the Southampton match, they started coming at us in the last few minutes. So I think it's nice that we were able to reverse that and to come away with a pretty historic win.
Absolutely. No, I think you're spot on. So a question from the chat. Jack, I'm surprised he put his wine down to even ask this question. But anyway, question for the pod. Why do we do this against Oh, you took it off screen.
Oh,
But Washington's
sorry.
against
Sorry, I
Chelsea
thought you
and bugger up against the Saints. It's fine. I found it. So, I mean, that is a valid point. It is so frustrating to be unbeaten against Brighton, Arsenal, Spurs, and Liverpool, and then come against Southampton, who weren't all that special, but they just didn't seem up for it. I mean, Nick, what were your thoughts on where we went wrong potentially against Southampton and how we could bounce back in a game such as this?
Just complacency. There seems to be some sort of complacency that kicks in when we're playing teams that are in the bottom half of the league versus the top half of the league. We really, really want it. We always want it, of course, in the game, but we seem to really want it when we're playing the top teams. We're fighting for it every second of the game. Yet, although there is always good momentum going forward during the other games, we never seem to show the drive to be able to get those goals. I mean, if we look at the goals we scored yesterday, sort of Harry Wilson staying at the back post and making sure he gets his head on the back of it and follows up with that opportunity. That sort of drive I don't really see during every single game, and I think we missed during Southampton, and that sort of led to us not actually being able to finish it.
Yeah, Mary, anything to add there? Or Sam?
I just want to, I think also that like the way the other team sets up, Southampton were obviously quite a low block, low press, which we anticipated they'd do. And I think we struggled against that because we're very quick in attack. We're very quick on the break, very quick in transition. And I think when we're playing these teams higher up in the table, they are trying to attack us. It's a lot more open. Yesterday became quite an open and fast game, especially second half. And I think we're very good in that. I think it's when the other team, like Southampton, have that low block, we struggle. So we need to find a way to pull them apart a bit more in that, because we still get into good opportunities, but we can't. They're set in their ways, aren't they? And we've got to find ways to pull them apart. We know Silva's a genius, so hopefully he'll find those options. But I think for me, that's a big part of it. I think the way the other team set up out of possession makes it tricky for us.
I think Silva is a genius, but I do also think that he did throw away the Southampton game a little bit just based on his selection. Just because I feel that he could have probably put up a much stronger lineup and actually just battered them, but he was actually quite conservative. He gave Josh King a run out. These aren't necessarily bad calls, but I think he could have looked to put them away and then maybe just done some rotation, like start a full starting lineup for the first half, literally put it away, get a couple goals, and then just sit back for the rest of the game. He didn't do that. I understand why he didn't do that. And I think he just kind of got that wrong for Southampton. And for playing Chelsea, he wasn't going to take that risk. And I think when we play the top 6 teams, we don't take any risks. And I think when we're playing the lower teams at the moment, we're more likely to play around with it, try out some other things. And I understand that, but you're letting yourself be vulnerable, and the bottom teams will still look to us as a team that they can potentially beat because we don't have the depth. That's just the reality of the situation. That's not necessarily a knock on the team as it is. It's just we've got some great players, but we just don't necessarily have as much depth as those other teams do. And those teams like Wolves, like Southampton, they're always going to put up their best lineup against us. And Silva, I'm not even sure if he's even missing that, or maybe he's just going, these other games are more important. But I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It does come down to sort of squad depth, and especially with the sort of injuries that we've been facing in the last couple of games as well, that really does take an impact and kind of allow us to potentially try some things against sort of smaller teams such as Southampton that may not work and therefore don't pick up the 3 points. Go on, Sam.
Dad also always throws this around as well, but I can't remember if Dad or Jack throws it around, but they always say, well, would you take no points against Southampton and beat Chelsea? And I can say very confidently, yes, I would.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Every day of the week, I think.
Every day.
Relegation
Every day.
and beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. I mean, with the doubles on.
I'd consider it.
That could be a thing. That could be a thing. But I mean, talking about the team, I know not the team selection as such, but there was a moment in the game where my heart completely sank. And this was in the 38th minute, I think it was. So Lukic on a yellow card gets played a really awful ball by, I think it was Iwobi. And Lukic goes sort of flying in and luckily doesn't catch the player and the player skips away from him. Did anyone else see that moment, and did they also have their heart sink and think, oh crap, we're going to go down to 10 men again and it's all just the wheels are going to come off as we're starting to sort of get back into the game? Did anyone else feel that moment, or is that just me being pessimistic and and crazy? Well,
I saw it. I saw it. I think the whole thing with Lukic, how Lukic plays, is he plays differently to Polinia, but he still has the sort of he needs to play on the edge to play his type of football, and that involves going into challenges a lot more, getting on the ground, sort of trying to win the ball back, where other players might stand off and maybe try and press the player, but not go in for a proper tackle. We have seen him serve a suspension already this year. I think at this point, if Silva's still playing him, I do trust him to do those sort of tackles, but it's always sort of a sinking heart feeling when you go, oof, that would have been a sending off.
Yeah. And we've been in that position. I mean, Spurs comes to mind of, you know, you're sitting quite pretty and getting back into the game, and then a red card completely changes the dynamic for us. Eddie, my pessimistic moment was when Jedi missed the sitter. I think there was a couple of chances where I was thinking, you know, we really need to start taking some of these chances. I mean, some good saves from the goalkeeper, but it was good that we were testing them. I guess, Mark, did you have any moments? I guess the Jedi one mentioning, but did you ever start to feel like this might not be our day, or did you feel like a goal was coming now?
Yeah, I mean, we were carving out the opportunities, right? And the Jedi one's a good one. I almost wish he took it first time. I know that's a bit of a risk, and it may not be the easiest thing, but by taking that extra touch, he allows the defender to come in, block some angles. He allows Sanchez to come out and make himself big, right? And then eventually gets the block out. So if we had a really talented winger there instead, or if we had a striker there, maybe they would take it first time. Yeah, Raul had another shot directly at Sanchez as well. Muniz had his header at him. Go on, Sam.
I was just gonna. I mean, you can definitely finish your point, but what I was gonna say is Jimenez for me. Sorry, Mark. I didn't expect you to.
No worries.
I feel a bit like a Robinson right now. I just wasn't prepared for this moment. You've given me a sitter. No, what I was actually going to say was I was just going to tail off on the point that you're making, because I thought Jimenez actually played quite well, but I don't know about you guys, but I didn't feel like he was going to score. And that was kind of sitting with me quite a lot. And because he kept on getting into good positions. I actually thought he played quite a good game, and I quite like the player he's becoming for us. But for me, when Jimenez kind of misses his like third chance in a row, I start to look at him a little bit differently, and I start to know I'm like, it's not going to happen, is it? And then from there, it's pretty much all up to Muniz. I mean, we can get to that. I feel like that needs a whole 25 minutes on its own, so I don't want to get to that just yet. But yeah, for me, like, it wasn't my heart sinking, but that was when I did start to get a little bit nervous when I thought that Jimenez wasn't going to do it today.
No, absolutely.
I do think he tried to do the same thing he did against Arsenal with his goal sort of earlier in the first half. and it didn't look like it was going to go in. Sometimes he's sort of on his day and can challenge him, but I did think that he was trying to make the runs. It was just not really opening up for him during the Chelsea game.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. But I think the moments for me was when Leno, especially I think the second half, was just pulling absolute stunning saves. And I think there's a lot of arguments about Leno potentially being one of the, I would say, the top 5 goalkeepers in the league. And I think this game is definitely one that I would tell people to watch to say this is how good he is. There was the moments where sort of like Enzo, that was reminiscent of Liverpool, where it was just going to be planted top corner, unsavable goal. I mean, point blank headers and things like that. They just easily can. You see it every week, right? 9 times out of 10, they go bounce down through the goalkeeper's legs or something like that. But Leno was phenomenal, wasn't he? I mean, it just seemed to be everything, positioning, the decision making, everything just seemed to be right. I mean, Mary, how important was Leno to this victory? I mean, would we be celebrating a victory today if it wasn't for him?
I think he saved us a good 3 or 4 times off memory. And I think he was a lot more confident and comfortable than Chelsea goalie, actually. I think we pressed Sanchez a fair few times, which obviously when we talk about the goals later, Muniz started off for the second goal. But I feel like we played out the back very calmly as well. Chelsea were pressing us high, and they were pressing us aggressively. But I think from Leno and the back line and the support across the pitch, we were playing out very calmly. I know you mentioned before, like the triangles that we play, and I think it was clear that we are very comfortable doing that because we were being pressed aggressively, but we just popped it around them and played it out, which was good. But I also want to highlight just at the end of the first half, Bassey and Diop both had a moment that kept them out. I think Bassey had a tackle right on half time, which was very lucky, very, very, very good, actually, not lucky, because we don't want to go in 2-0 down. So that was brilliant. And I think there was a moment, the ball went over top to Jackson and Diop just got across. And again, 1v1 saved that moment. So I think as Leno, outstanding, player of the match for me, but I think also the back line were solid and some crucial moments that they kept us in.
It really speaks to them as a unit that they can so comfortably play 3 at the back. I mean, I know that this has been building for a really, really long time. But just the trust amongst and the understanding amongst Diop, Anderson, and Bassey when they're all on the pitch, and just the composure that they have, because like 5 at the back doesn't always work, but their mentality and their understanding of the way that all of them play when they're all there is so special. I mean, I don't necessarily want to go 5 at the back for the rest of the season, but it does kind of fill me with a lot of peace. It doesn't feel like we're panicking like I see a lot of other teams like do when they go 5 at the back. It seems like we're making a very astute choice, and it really, really, really works. And it actually makes Diop better. It makes Diop a lot better because I find that sometimes when it's just like him and Bassey, he can play great. My dad, like Elton always says, he has a mistake in him, and it's true. But he just seems to play so much better with somebody like Anderson right next to him, and yeah, it's really awesome to see.
Well, to give you some credit there, Sam, there's an analogy that you used earlier on in the season, which I absolutely loved, and it's when we started bringing on Diop to see games out, and he would join Anderson and Bassey, and it was basically talking about how Diop on the right-hand side and Bassey on the left became like the limbs. And it was the hive mind mentality of Anderson is the brain. Anderson knows exactly where to be on the pitch, where basically to control that back line. And Bassey and Diop are kind of like, you know, the gangsters type, sort of the mugs, you know, they're like, oh, well, what should we do, Rimbar? So the kind of thing. And then they will be the one who's doing all the brute stuff, right? So Anderson's like, you take him, and Diop's like, yes, sir. Boom. Bassey,
Anderson's
exactly
Fat Sam, and it's just Bugsy Malone.
exactly that. And I think we were seeing glimpses of that, and I think earlier in the season to sort of see games out, and it worked. And I think seeing it in a game like yesterday actually showed some promise to me in how we could use this going forward. I think if Berger comes in for Pereira, and you've got kind of like that flat midfield in front of the defence, I reckon with a Tete back, not to say that Castagna had a bad game, but with a Tete back, flying up the wings similar to Jedi, that will push the wingers inside. So you kind of got either Wilson or Iwobi kind of tucking in behind the striker. I think that could work quite well. And I think even in a game where we're allowing Robinson to really use his pace and his attacking intent, I think that could be something good going forward. It'd be interesting to see if we do go back to a back four once sort of injuries start to peter out. But hey, we'll see.
I actually loved the first goal, literally off the back of everything that you've just said, Skibby, because if you watch it back, the interplay between Iwobi and Robinson that sets up everything for Wilson is just magic to watch. It's like, I mean, it's like Messi level, the way that the ball is just bouncing around, and it's just, they're just there. They're just there for every bit of it. And that comes from just knowing that your back line is good. So then you can just play, and then you can just actually confidently go forward and just know that you have support. And I'll put it to the group to discuss it more, because I know that we all want to salivate over all these goals. So yeah, anyone's thoughts. Open forum.
Well, let's go to the
You've
goal.
done it again.
Wilson.
Let me jump in. The goal was definitely incredible, but almost as incredible was Neto's attempt to win a BAFTA or he could be in the Olympics. The amount of rolls, that's incredible. I didn't even know the Earth had that much momentum in it. 4 rolls, I believe someone counted. And he's the one that's sticking his arm out trying to stop Iwobi. It's like, come on, man. Like, what? I want to mention this actually on a more serious note. I don't know if it was Chelsea last season, but it was definitely a top 4 side. Whenever we would have a corner against them, one of their players would go down. And extremely cynically, I think this is a tactic to get a goal looked at or disallowed by having a foul be committed on the player. And I think that's what Neto was playing for. I think he tried to get the ball. He realized he couldn't. The next best thing you can do is stop play, right? And whatever, free kick one way, the other way, but just get the team organized again so they can be static. But luckily, the ref saw it for what it was, allowed play to continue, and here we are.
Was it Palmer a bit later in the game that barely got touched and went down and got a free kick just outside the box?
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like him. But
yeah,
I think.
Contact.
But this is the thing, Mary, coming to you as the player of the panel. Apologies, Mark and Nick, if you do play. But when I was a kid, this is just my knowledge right now. Okay, so we can have that chat later. But anyway, even when I was a kid playing Sunday League, I was always told as a fullback, if you go up for a header and you feel in trouble and the ball's going that way, hold your head because play gets stopped. I mean, it's dark arts. Is that something which you think is still being used today and definitely being used at a professional level?
You have got to be clever, haven't you? There is some
I was really hoping you weren't going to say no comment. I'm so glad.
Just for the notes. Just for the notes here. I'm not saying that Mary does this. I'm
very
staring
rarely
down the camera
go
right
down.
now. I do this because I'm stick thin, fullback, and I am a little bastard. But if the dark arts exist, and do you think that this is something?
Yeah, you have got to be clever, haven't you? I personally very rarely go down. Touch wood, that continues. But there is, you have got to be clever with some stuff. I agree. Neto would have been trying to get that looked at. Did he get a booking for it, or? No, I think it was.
Doesn't happen. I mean, that's another question. Should VAR retrospectively look at that and go, "You absolute clown, here's a yellow"?
Yeah, I think it was worthy of it.
Go on, around the stage. Sam? Yes, no?
No, I'm not going to give you a yes, no. I'm going to go into a ramble. Look, I'm not okay, here's my thing. I get the ethical kind of shittiness of it, but also that's just what the game is. And the game is trying to manipulate at any given time. It's trying to pull your opponent from certain positions. It's trying to trick play. And so, yeah, I can't get too annoyed at any kind of form of manipulation in football, because honestly, I want our players to do the exact same thing, and I'm kind of annoyed that they don't do it, because you can be stoic and you can be just, and you can be well, it's very Scott Parker, isn't it? It's being like, no, we play the game, we do the right thing, and it's really good that we do the right thing. But it's like, can you just do the wrong thing a couple of times? Just because I would actually like to see us win sometimes. And you know what? Bigger teams get further through cheat. I think it's Ange Postecoglou that says every single manager is looking for a way to cheat at any given time. It's just what they do. And it's like the thing with great artists steal, great athletes cheat, and we love them for it. We love them for it. So that's just my take on it. So I can't criticize Neto too much.
But the question was, should they retrospectively book him?
Yeah, sure, why not?
All right, Mark, do you think so?
Yeah, I mean, in our very unbiased take, I mean, on the fence about it, but sure, why not?
If it's blatant,
I would say to Sam's point, I think, and maybe I'm completely wrong because I'm, rose-tinted glasses and stuff. I think we play pretty clean. I will say that Leno has gone down at some very, very fortunate times with an arm injury towards the end of the game. So maybe we've twigged just a little bit how to improve our game management.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. You wouldn't be able to look at VAR and be like, his arm is definitely not hurt. But yeah, I think that's good. But we talked about the first goal, Harry Wilson. So I was going to say the subs that came on the pitch. So it gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling to know that, when the game started to turn, Harry Wilson was on the pitch, Tom Cairney was on the pitch, and then in the latter stages, Ryan Sessegnon came on the pitch. But, Harry Wilson knocks down that cross that we said, fantastic cross from Jedi, knocked back against Castagna. We started to believe a little bit then. Bit of momentum. I love that word, the momentum. I mean, Sam, you must have thought that this is our game now, right? This is... Or were you settling for a draw?
No, I was never settling for a draw. It didn't feel like do you know what? I've actually got this is a really unpopular opinion, and I know how dumb this sounds, but again, this kind of leans more into just kind of like the way that I see the game from pure like narrative point of view. I actually feel a little bit better sometimes when we go 1-0 down in the first half than if we go 1-0 up in the first half, because it's very, very Fulhamish for us to go 1-0 up in the first half and then bugger it up. Whereas if we are 1-0 down in the first half, it's a very, very different game. It's what we were talking about before. We're still in it. We just need to reassess. And I think we're actually very good at reassessing the situation. So the fact that we didn't concede early in the first half and Leto was playing a great game, I was holding on. But in my feeble little brain, I was like, there's still something. There is still something here. And then from that point, you had to wait. I'll be really honest. When Wilson got the goal, I was like, great. I thought this was going to happen. You couldn't have prepared me for Muniz. You couldn't have prepared me for that. But again, we'll get to that.
We'll get there. And I think I'm going to go to Nick now, because Nick, we mentioned before you were in the Riverside stand. When that goal goes in, what was that like?
Absolute scenes. I mean, beforehand, before the first goal went in, there were calls to bring on Josh King, get the youngster in and see what magic and if he can become a club legend before his 18th birthday. But I think just absolute scenes. The subs made a big, big difference. But no, being in the Riverside stand, it's absolutely beautiful for anyone who's not gone and seen it in person yet. They've opened up the whole river walk, so anyone anytime can walk past the stand now.
Nice.
But inside it looks very sleek. The people there were lovely. By the time Muniz's goal went in, the Super Fulham chants were endless, and the vibes were immaculate.
Yeah. That sounds so good, actually. I mean, so maybe the hype is true. Maybe the hype is true on the Riverside. So Mary, goal's gone in. Chelsea have gone straight down the other end. I think there was a Cucurella header, Sancho save. You're starting to think, how's this going to end? Were you starting to sweat? Were you like, just see it out, take the point at that point?
Well, yeah, before the game would have definitely taken the point. I think it got really end to end. I think the whole game we were quick, and we, like we've said already, we were always looking for something. We weren't settling for a draw at that point. But yeah, Chelsea were getting desperate, weren't they? They were attacking with numbers, but then so were we. Every time we attacked with numbers, and I think that's something really positive, that we are confident enough. We left ourselves a bit open, but we're confident enough to attack in numbers every time. So yeah, it is a bit scary, obviously, every time any team attacks us. But we just kept going for it, and I think we had linking back to the subs. I think Kearney came on and was really positive. I think he got into really nice pockets. He was just getting the ball, giving it away, like to our players, but like receive, pass very quickly, very smoothly. I think he got into some really good, just little pockets to keep that ball moving. But we look really good. It's nerve-wracking every time they attack us, but we went and got the winner.
The thing that really got it for me, because like beforehand you asked me how I felt about it. When I saw Muniz do that, he did a massive run. He did a massive run to basically try and catch like the goalkeeper and try to like chase it down. From there, I just thought, I was like, oh, he really wants it. He really wants it. And I've seen him like that before, and it felt kind of special. And I'm not sure if I knew what was going to happen next, but like, that was
cannot prepare for that moment. You
really couldn't. Really could. I cracked a rib. Like, I'm pretty sure my nose started bleeding. Like
limbs FC.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, well, like Nick, were you there?
I was in the Riverside stand, so
at the Fulham
blood.
Tell us
a tale. Tell us a tale all this time.
I was there by myself, but the amount of limbs in the quite small area where we were immaculate. Just we saw the pass. We saw I think Muniz, and if he was on his right, was it Wilson?
Castagna, I think.
Castagna
was
run
there for
up.
some reason.
So the ball go past, and just Muniz take it on his feet, take a step, and then shoot it right past Sanchez. I don't think
goosebumps while you're talking about it again.
you're gonna find it difficult to find a better sort of Fulham moment this season for me.
Nah. I mean, there's a few though.
Than that goal. We've had a few absolutely amazing
the Wilson
moments
header,
this season.
That's got to be up there, but
Brentford.
Yeah, Wilson's double versus Brentford. But no,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, but like for so long, it's been Vinicius, and I've had to just want to commission a statue for Vinicius for so long, just because of his moment against Chelsea. I can't remember if it was last season, the season before, but giving it to Muniz now. He's a boy. He is the special one, and that's all I've ever wanted for him. Like, that's player for life. That's a statue. Vinicius can fuck off. Like it's Muniz's time now in every possible way, and I'm just so happy it was him. I'm so happy it was him.
Is this the start of the purple patch? Are we going to see a few goals flowing now for Muniz? And does he even get the start this next game?
I don't think he'll get the start.
I think Raul was good enough, wasn't he?
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
But Muniz is good as an impact player. Like, I think I've said that before. I quite like his yesterday's energy to press the goalie in just before that goal.
Yeah.
I think he's really good at that and bringing on that extra energy. I think Jimenez will start for the time being.
That was actually a question I was going to ask for Mark. I mean,
sorry,
we can't start Muniz. He doesn't seem to be the same player. When he comes off the bench, he's so hungry. Like that goal where it took I think the Chelsea player tried to clear it, took a massive deflection off of Muniz, and he just chased it down into the corner, and that energy forced a goal. Like there was I think it was, I can't remember who, Anderson picked it up. Nobody challenged him, just brought it down out to Wilson, and suddenly we're on the break. I mean, is that a thing for Muniz now, that he's just got to be that striker off the bench because he just doesn't seem to be the same kind of player when he starts?
I think they offer very different things, right? So in terms of the profile of the striker and how they like to play, Muniz does bring the energy, and partly perhaps that's his youthful exuberance and his desire to prove himself. Just also such a genuinely nice guy from what snippets we get from social media, right? When we got Player of the Month last year during his purple patch, he's like, we don't, we're not going to point fingers, but I don't feel like he might have an ego or an attitude problem. He's just a very wholesome dude. So that's great. I think Marco trusts Raul more because Raul perhaps in flashes we've seen he's a bit more technical. He likes ball to feet. He can bring people into play and he'll do those runs. So I think he'll continue to start. But another shout out to the Discord. This is where we get great, snippets of information, but I think that's an area we're considering in January, and it's really, really exciting to see some of the names we're linked with, and maybe that's that little extra push we need to solidify ourselves in the top 6, top 7.
Absolutely, I think you're quite right, and I think they both have flashes, but it'd be nice to have an all-round complete number 9 who will perform for 60, 70 minutes without fail and score up to 15 goals a season, maybe 15 to 20 goals a season. But
transfer windows around the corner.
Yeah, and I mean, if you believe the rumors, if we were within sniffing distance of Europe, then apparently there was a contingency plan, not really a contingency plan, but a plan to spend big to try and make that happen. So we might see that. So stay tuned and look in January and see where that goes. But going back to the game very quickly. How great was the celebrations? Everyone running. Marco going
running
crazy. I think it was
Marco
just
running got me.
Sessegnon in there, just Iwobi screaming at the fans. Lukic standing there doing his Tom Kearney impression on the advertising boards. I mean, Sessegnon stopped Muniz from getting a booking. If you're a fancy Premier League player, you got to thank Sessegnon. He's like, keep your shirt down. I'd have let him go. Let him enjoy his moment. But going back, Mary, I look at the screen with the attack. We were in a 4-on-3, 95th minute of the game, 96th minute of the game, and we were in a 4-on-3 in our favour. It's just a different mentality that Marco's put into this team. But those
and
celebrations
as
I
well,
can watch for days. Yeah, absolutely. But I just love the celebrations with
Marco going down.
Marco. It's just
this team never rolls over. This team never just rolls over and lets the big teams just take a win. We're just always fighting for it, and there's so much passion behind these big games, especially that it's always just amazing to see. The fact Kearney was on the pitch, the fact Cess was on the pitch, the fact it was Muniz scoring the winning goal is just the cherry on top already. Yeah.
And I loved the footage on Twitter, like from the stands. You can see the goal. I think a guy who I'd like to call a friend now, Mark, not you, Mark, but a different Mark, who I couldn't go to the game, so I gifted my tickets to him. He put up some fantastic photos and enjoyed the day, so that was awesome to sort of see just Fulham fans in their element. I mean, I've even seen, not that I'm one of these people that, where other fans talk about, they only take X amount or they don't do limbs and stuff. And I've actually seen people actually talk about, Fulham not familiar with your game. Like the limbs at the end of this game were just phenomenal. And I mean,
you could hear the Fulham fans like through the...
Exactly. It makes you warm inside just to see them enjoying it, enjoying the moment. And I was jealous that I couldn't be there, but at the same time, I'm so glad that they could, and just enjoy the moment. So Fantastic.
And there was a photo going around Tosin with his hand up, calling for offside
Oh, I love that.
when the ball's gone in the back of the net.
There's two things we want to talk about now.
Yeah.
Tosin's back line. Have you seen where he was on the pitch for that goal? He might as well have stood in the goal line. He's just keeping them all on side. I don't know
12th man.
what he's doing.
Secret
Absolute
agent.
Clown. Secret
And getting
agent.
booed every time he had the ball. Brilliant from Fulham fans. Well done.
And then the TikTok. We've got to talk about the TikTok from Fulham.
That was
The,
brave.
if you can't beat them, join them. Yeah, nice one, Tosin. But I was so surprised that they did that. And they've really got in hard on him. But it's absolute clown. What a player. The Tosin that we know and love. But no, I
Getting
mean,
rinsed online.
yes. And that's the Chelsea game.
You know what?
Thoughts on Chelsea? Go on, Sam.
Well, it's times like this because, like, okay, so this is a very, very lovely moment for me, right? Because I started this, like me and my dad and Jack started this, literally about 3 years ago now, just because we wanted to talk about incredible moments like this, and we had nobody that really talk about it with. Now, my brother and dad aren't even here, and I'm talking about it with 4 other people. It's become an international affair. It's such a wonderful time to be a Fulham fan, but it's also a wonderful time to be a That's So Craven fan as well. Because look at this community that we're building. Look at who we are. We've got Mary Southgate. Come on, like that's like this is how great is this? Skibby's hosting. We've got Nick and Mark. I'm just very, very elated. I'm getting emotional. It's nice.
Extended the family. Isn't it?
But like, it's
no
genuinely, it's just like, this is what it's all about. It's just about sharing something you love with good people. And it's so good. It's
still a
so
family
good.
podcast. It's just extending. That's all.
It is. I'm still here. There will be a podcast one day where like none of us are going to be here. I don't know what that looks like yet, but you know what? Sometimes I accept that we're just going to have to let it fly. It's kind of already become its own beast a little bit. People tell me all the time that it's like, how does this, like, it just keeps on growing. I'm like, I don't know. It just does. Like I'm not part of the growth thing, but it just keeps growing.
Lovely sentiment. I do need to log off myself, but I just wanted to quickly
You go, brother.
Say that what an amazing moment it was. Extended Christmas gift, best Christmas gift any Fulham fan can wish for. And just to point out before I head off, we are now equal on points to Manchester City with -1 goal difference. I know they've been falling off, but if you tell a Fulham fan that at the start,
I'm enjoying Sam's dance right now.
Well, that's it.
If
I mean,
you
that's
tell any of us that at the start of this season, no one would have believed you.
You think we'd be second, wouldn't you? Oh, it's fantastic. And no, thanks for joining us, Nick, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, guys. Bye.
But that's a great segue into the table. We are sitting 8th at the moment. 28 points, 1 point off 5th, so that's Europa League. We are joint with Man City in 7th, so Champions League. It's only 5 points. 5 points. That's insane. That's incredible.
I don't want to, Skibby. I don't want to believe. I can only handle so much. I can only sound like hope is a dangerous thing. It's Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, we know this. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that to myself. Like if it happens, it happens. But like it's just I can't. It's like, you can't ask that of me.
I refuse to believe that Marco and the boys are taking one game at a time and we take it as it comes.
No,
you can't. You can't right now because you're thinking. You look at Liverpool, Chelsea, Forest, Arsenal, Newcastle. We haven't lost to those teams in the top 5. So we haven't lost to a top 5 team. We've got Bournemouth coming up. Stay tuned. We've got Man City, which we narrowly lost to, but that was before they kind of had this fall off. And then, we're actually doing a phenomenal job as the teams on the right end of the table. We just need to start picking on those points at the bottom end of the table, and we might actually start pushing a bit more convincingly. That's the point. But I mean, this is quick fire, and Sam, I'm gonna come to you last because I know you're gonna have a paragraph to say. If you were given Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. Mark, which one would you prefer?
Oh man, I'm gonna go for an out there answer and say Conference League, just because I want to go to the most random countries. Away in Latvia or something like that, or playing in Bulgaria. I think that'd be a bit of a laugh. And maybe, I mean, yes, it would be great to see the big teams, but it might be a bit more of a one-sided affair. But we might, I think the odds of getting a trophy could be higher for the Conference League. So that's my pick.
Yeah, Mary. All hypothetical, of course.
Well, thinking of Europa League just gives me flashbacks to last time, and that was unreal. So I don't know if we can better the emotion from that, but yeah, I'll take any of them. I'll take Europa or Champions League. But now I'm just dreaming about our last Europa run, and that was special.
Yeah. Sam?
I don't. Okay, hear me out. I don't think I want Champions League just because I like as amazing as it would be. I think we would hurt from that. I think I want Europa League. I want the redemption arc. Like I want to rewrite that narrative, and I want to go all the way.
Yeah, there's part of me that thinks the Europa League was so special that I don't think we'd be able to better it. That's the only problem I've got with that.
It's fair.
I think Conference League for me, just because you've got a good chance of winning it, and I think you still get to go to all the cool places and win it. But yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so Sunday we've got Bournemouth. It's going to be
Haven't had time to
interesting.
think about it yet.
I was about to say I barely care.
No, exactly.
I'll be so honest. I was just like
Still, my head's still in Chelsea win.
Well, as Sam knows, we have criteria to meet. Check. So we have to do Bournemouth, even though we haven't thought about it or where Bournemouth are or what they're doing. But apparently, Bournemouth,
they're actually doing okay.
They are doing very well. I was looking at that one, but that's Brighton. Bournemouth, I mean, 1 point off us. They're doing very well. They've got a very, very good manager, I think. And they are probably overachieving in a similar way that Fulham are. And I say overachieving, they're not where everyone would expect them to be, but the performances they're putting in, they definitely deserve to be in that position. And I think they lost Solanke. They replaced him with Evan Nilsson, who I think was an absolute gamble at 40 million, but it seems to be paying off. I guess, Mark, how do you see this one playing out with Bournemouth?
Yeah, two good sides. Their recruiting has been amazing, right? This is throwing back to the past a little bit, but do you guys remember the crazy 6-2 we had against Bristol City? Yeah. So they got Anton Semenyo, who scored both goals for them.
Fantastic player.
Yeah, great player, very fast. Kirkez, I believe, is a left back. He's getting linked with moves to top clubs as well. So their recruiting is really, really good. And like you said, they deserve to be there. It doesn't seem like a fluke. So I think we're going to see two attacking sides. Both sides want to win, right, to push themselves further up into those European spots. It's going to be as tough as Chelsea, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, they're like you said, they're not where we would expect them to be. Us and Bournemouth, in most other fans' eyes, should probably be somewhere from 11th to 14th. But we're not, so we'll see how the game plays out.
Yeah, and just looking at Bournemouth's recent form, it's a draw with Palace 0-0 on Boxing Day. They beat Man United 3-0 at Old Trafford. A draw with West Ham. They beat Ipswich 2-1, and they beat Tottenham 1-0. So they're currently unbeaten in their last 6 games. So it's going to be a very, very tough game. I guess. Mary, are you confident going to the Cottage and thinking that we could? Is it sort of going back onto what we were talking about in terms of, we struggle against the low block teams, but when the teams give us the space and allow us to attack, that kind of works more in our favour. So is that something that gives us a bit of optimism going into Sunday?
Yeah, I think I'm feeling positive. I think we will absolutely get behind them, and I am confident of the win. I think, like you've just said, and like we said earlier, because it will be two attacking teams, I think that will play in our favour. I think we'll be able to utilise our left wing like we're doing very well. But then Castagna got up really, really well this game. I think he had a really good game. He got really wide. The problem we've got is teams are going to start realising we are very strong down that left side. But then we still were able to capitalise on that in the Chelsea game and each game we've had so far. So they're not doing very well at putting a stop to it. But yeah, I think it will be 2 attacking teams. I think we'll see a very similar lineup because obviously we've got injuries. We don't know where we're at with Smith Rowe and Berger. Do we know where he's at?
He's not in a great way, I don't think. But there is a press conference actually happening right now, I believe. So hopefully we should get some information shared on Berger. But I guess given the frequency of the games, I guess, Sam, do you think there's going to be some rotation? And if so, who do you think you'll see be rotated?
Well, see, this kind of like leans into my only real concerns about Bournemouth game. It'll just purely come down to the selection and what type of starting lineup Silva picks. I would actually hope that we would pick a full strength lineup just because it's, in my opinion, it's a game that we kind of have to win just because, I mean, I would understand. No, I wouldn't actually understand us throwing this away or doing what we've done or just trying to experiment or rotate. I want to see a full strength squad. If they do rotate, I mean, probably I'd almost like to see King in, just because I thought King defensively last time he played was really, really, really solid. And even if he just has a solid 45 minutes, I would be quite content with that just because I've seen what that can actually be. Also, I thought Pereira was good yesterday, but again, I like Josh King's defensive prowess a little bit more. But I guess at this stage I'm gonna trust Silva. Yeah, I just want to see a strong side. I don't want us to be lacking in any areas or I guess like, dead weight's not the word I want to. I don't want to have us potentially carrying anyone, if that makes sense.
So I've just had a quick look at how the press conference is going. It says that Smith Rowe, they don't know. They got another session tomorrow before the game to decide on Emil, and everyone else is in the same situation. So I assume that means that Berger is still out, Tete's still out, and I guess everyone else is within contention. But it'd be interesting, I guess. There must be some players that are really making a case to sort of come back in. Do we see that Wilson potentially would come back in? Did Adama do enough, Mark, do you think, against Chelsea to cement his place? Or do you think that Wilson, given his little goal-scoring cameo, that he'll come back into the starting lineup?
Purely personal opinion, I do think Wilson's more of an impact player, but at the same time, you got to reward him. I wouldn't mind if he started. I think he's earned it. Adama is also a great impact player himself, right? So I really think it depends on the type of opposition we're facing and whether, maybe you can make the case either way. But I'd like to see Wilson start. I do think he'd be better against low block sides, and Adama would be better at exploiting those who push up, who Bournemouth will. And just a quick word on them. I was just looking at their squad. There's been a few videos on Fulham about how we've secretly been building a pretty stacked squad with Iwobi and Anderson and Leno and those guys, ESR. So have Bournemouth. Wow. Sinistera, Kluivert, which is the one that got away. That kind of hurts.
Yep.
Tyler Adams. These are, these aren't players like, with Brighton, we joke. We look at Brighton's team and they're a good team, but it's like, I don't recognize like 7 out of 11 of these players. Bournemouth, I'm recognizing most of them. Good players. But going back to the original question, I'd like Wilson to start.
Yeah. I think you're quite right on that one. I think I do agree with you. But I think they're probably the only changes I can see making. I think Raul and Muniz we touched upon. Wilson potentially coming in. And I guess it's whether we stay with the back five. But I assume that because of injuries and the way that everything is apparently as it stands, that I reckon a back five is probably where we will stay. So that sounds pretty good. But okay, across the board predictions. Sam, how do you feel the game will go against Bournemouth?
Oh, I'm gonna say. Oh, it should be pretty well contested. Honestly, I'm gonna be really boring. I'm probably gonna say 1-1. I'm gonna say 1-1.
Okay, Mary.
I also think it'll be quite close. I am going to go 2-1 Fulham. I think, and even if we go a goal down, we should have so much belief now as fans that the players just keep going, and I think we'll hopefully see that again on Sunday. But I think it'll be close. I think we'll get the win 2-1.
Okay, and Mark.
I'm going to go 3-2. I think it's going to be a bonkers game. You know, back to back, both teams going at it, and an absolute goal fest. They have Kepa in goal as well, so you know, another name. But we've done it before. We've beaten Kepa before, so I think we can do it again.
Yeah, I'm torn with you guys on this one. I do think that there's an element of like the Brighton game about it, where they seem to be in form. They seem to be a really good team, but I think the chances that we carved out yesterday proved that we could potentially hurt a team like Bournemouth. So I think, given our defence is pretty good and settled, I think I'm going to go for a 2-0 Fulham win. But it'll be a bit more of a, not a comfortable all-out attack, but more counter-attacking and allowing them to come onto us as we can break and hurt them. I think we can hurt them on the break. Is definitely the way I can see this game going. So 2-0, I reckon. I've just seen Black and White Fred said it's his first game of the season, so probably 0-0. So if anything goes wrong, it's all Fred's fault for turning up, and we'll do whatever in our power to make sure he doesn't attend another game. Anyway, guys, I think that is everything. I think we've covered the game intensely. I think we've let's just say it again. Chelsea 1, Fulham 2 at the Bridge. Oh,
I mean, we can leave it there. We can leave that there. Like, there's no better outro than that. I'll tell you that much for free.
There is not. But Sam, thank you very much for joining today and giving us your thoughts on a very monumentous day in Fulham history. Let's say that.
I thought I've actually been quite well behaved. Thank you very
have.
much. I haven't strayed away. I haven't mentioned salt lamps or red pandas or anything obscure like that today. I've stuck to the script. I've been because the script has been good and it's been perfect. It's a Scorsese level script. I've loved it. I've loved being here. Thank you very much for having me. Absolute pleasure.
And as as the substitute, I'll be sure to tell the normal teacher that you were very well behaved and deserve a gold star. So I'll be messaging Jack straight after this.
Thank you.
Mary, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Oh, thanks so much for having me again. It's good to chat about this one. Definitely much more upbeat than the 0-0 against Southampton. But what a game. What another London derby. I thought that was the top. But now we've got Chelsea win as well. Both of them are unreal. So, yeah, thanks for having me. Good to catch up about it.
That's it. And hopefully we extend the Mary appearance undefeated run. So there we go.
Oh.
Fingers crossed. So much pressure.
And Mark, thank you very much for joining today.
Thanks a bunch, Skippy. Thanks, team. It's always a pleasure to discuss with you guys, even more so when it's a win, and even more so when it's against our rivals.
Absolutely. And without further ado, so thank you all for listening. Thank you very much for the people in the chat and your questions. And be sure to join the Discord so you can talk to us 24/7. When I'm sleeping, Jack's awake. When Jack's sleeping, I'm awake. So you can talk to us all hours of the day in the Discord. But no, thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining in. Chelsea 1, Fulham 2. What a win at the Bridge. Nothing else to say. As always, come on, you Whites.
You Whites!